Hello, how are you? What if I told you that being born into a toxic family makes you more privileged than 80% of people? I'm sure you've always questioned yourself, wondering why God allowed this, or if God is punishing you. But after all, why did you have to face so much suffering? Being placed in a toxic family might seem cruel, but there is a powerful reason behind it. It's not bad luck or punishment. It's part of God's plan. You weren't born into this family by chance. You were placed exactly where you needed to be to awaken something greater within you. It's not easy, I know, but the truth is, you were chosen to break cycles, heal wounds that have spanned generations, and transform pain into strength. In this video, I'll show you why each moment of suffering you endured with your family has a purpose. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to like this video. It helps this message reach others who have gone through the same and are still searching for answers. From the very beginning, you probably felt that there was something different about your journey. Perhaps you noticed that the challenges within your family were more intense than those you saw in other families around you. The interactions might have felt draining, filled with constant conflicts, deep emotional wounds, and a sense of isolation that sometimes took over everything. But as painful as this is, your story didn't start by accident. It is believed that before we are born, our souls choose the scenarios that will be crucial for our learning and growth. This might sound strange or even unfair, but think about it. Why would we choose something easy if the purpose of life is to grow, evolve, and become more conscious versions of ourselves? Toxic families, with all their flaws and wounds, act as relentless mirrors, showing us our own shadows and forcing us to confront them. Your soul, in choosing this family, recognized the potential for transformation that could arise from this experience. It knew that to break cycles of pain and bring light to a shadow-filled past, you would need to experience all of it up close, not to be destroyed by these experiences, but to overcome them, and through that, awaken something extraordinary within you: strength, empathy, and a deep sense of purpose. The environment you were born into is not a condemnation, but a spiritual training ground. Every wound you faced carries a hidden lesson, and every obstacle brings an opportunity to discover who you truly are. Of course, this doesn't diminish the pain or hardships you've endured, but it reveals that they hold a greater meaning. The chaos you live through is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your transformation. The wounds caused by a toxic family run deep. Often, they manifest as a constant sense of inadequacy, lack of love, or rejection. You might even have carried these marks as a burden, believing they define who you are. But the truth is, these wounds are not the end of your story. They mark the beginning of a powerful process of self-discovery. Every emotional pain you faced plays a crucial role in your awakening. The rejection you felt might have taught you the value of unconditional self-acceptance. Constant criticism may have planted the seed of inner strength you didn't know you had. The lack of support could have awakened your ability to emotionally sustain yourself, fostering independence that is your true fortress. What makes these wounds so transformative is that they force you to look inward. They act like alarms, calling your attention to parts of yourself that need care, attention, and healing. Without these challenges, you might never have discovered the power that lies in facing pain head-on and choosing something different for yourself. Transformation begins when you realize that these wounds are not sentences of failure, but invitations to evolve. By embracing what they have to teach, you start to free yourself from the weight they carry and reconnect with your true essence. This journey of healing is not easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. It's here that you begin to strengthen yourself from the inside out, building a life defined not by suffering, but by triumph. The family environment you were born into is not just an unfortunate coincidence. It is part of a greater pattern, a cycle that has been repeating for generations. Emotional wounds, unresolved traumas, and dysfunctional behaviors have been passed from one person to another, shaping the family dynamic long before you were born. These wounds didn't appear out of nowhere. They are the accumulation of stories, pain, and choices that came before you. And now, somehow, all this ancestral weight has landed on you. But here's the central point. You were chosen to be the turning point. This might feel heavy, almost like a burden, but in truth, it's an opportunity of grand proportions. Being the one to break the cycle is a mission that requires strength, but also brings life-changing rewards. Think about it. What was once just an unconscious repetition of pain and dysfunction now has the chance to transform into something entirely new, and you are the agent of that change. Breaking a generational cycle doesn't just mean living differently or avoiding past mistakes. It's a deep process of recognition and confrontation. First, you need to identify the patterns that shaped your family dynamics. Where there is control, where there is manipulation, where there is a lack of love or support. Next, it's essential to understand that these patterns didn't arise from nowhere. They are responses to the pain of those who came before you. This isn't to justify toxic behaviors, but to understand that many of them were born out of suffering and a lack of healing. This process is extremely challenging because it requires not only emotional strength, but also introspection and courage. To break a cycle, you first need to live it up close. It's as if you must dive into the storm before learning how to navigate through it. This experience gives you the clarity needed not only to identify what must change, but also to find the path to create something new. The impact of this process doesn't stop with you. It reverberates through your entire lineage. When you choose to act differently, seek healing, and establish new patterns, you're not just changing your own story. You are paving the way for those who come after you to no longer carry the same weight that was passed on to you. By breaking the cycle, you create a new reality for future generations, one based on freedom, respect, and love. But it is important to remember that this process does not happen linearly and is not always recognized by others. Often, as you work to break the cycle, it might seem like nothing is changing. Your family may continue behaving the same way. You may face resistance or even rejection. However, the impact of your choices goes far beyond what is visible at the moment. Every small change you make, whether it's setting healthy boundaries, choosing forgiveness, or acting with empathy, plants seeds that, over time, will bear fruit. Being the breaking point in a story filled with pain is immense work, but it is deeply transformative. Every step you take toward healing not only lightens the burden you carry, but also frees future generations from repeating the same patterns. This is more than just personal change. It is an act of love that reverberates throughout your lineage. Toxic family patterns do not remain confined to the environment around you. They eventually seep into you. As you grow, these dynamics begin to shape your worldview, your beliefs about yourself, and even your behaviors. Without realizing it, you may carry into adulthood what was imposed on you in childhood as if it were part of who you are. But here's the point: this does not define you. These patterns manifest in subtle ways and are often difficult to identify. For example, if you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, offered only when you met expectations or avoided conflict, you likely learned to constantly seek approval. You may feel the need to be perfect to deserve love, which creates a heavy load of anxiety and self-criticism. Another common example is emotional control. If you lived in a family where your emotions were invalidated or ignored, you might have learned to suppress what you feel. This could manifest as difficulty connecting emotionally, fear of expressing vulnerability, or even bursts of pent-up anger. These reactions are direct reflections of the dynamics you witnessed and experienced. There are also those who deeply internalize the criticism and rejection they faced. This can result in a cruel inner voice that constantly questions your worth, as if you were never good enough. This distorted self-image can affect every aspect of your life: relationships, career, and even your ability to dream. The most challenging part of dealing with these patterns is that they often operate unconsciously. You may find yourself repeating the same behaviors or falling into the same cycles you tried to avoid without understanding why. This happens because these patterns were ingrained in you early on, like programming that needs to be rewritten. Recognizing these manifestations is the first step toward transforming them. When you realize these behaviors are not your essence but learned responses, you begin to reclaim power over your own life. This awareness allows you to make different choices, create new habits, and develop a healthier relationship with yourself. Transforming these patterns requires effort and intention. It's not just about identifying what's wrong, but actively working to change it. This may include seeking professional help, practicing self-awareness, or even making difficult decisions to protect your emotional well-being. Every step in this process is an act of courage that leads you toward freedom from the past. Overcoming inherited toxic patterns demands more than simple recognition. It is an active process of reconstruction, where you leave behind everything that no longer serves you and begin rediscovering your true essence. This starts by separating who you truly are from the beliefs, behaviors, and expectations imposed on you since childhood. One of the first steps in this journey is learning to observe your own thoughts and reactions. Often, we carry patterns like the fear of rejection, the need to please, or the tendency to avoid conflict without realizing they control us. Transformation requires a deep level of self-awareness, where you begin to identify when you are acting out of conditioning rather than choice. After gaining this awareness, it is essential to replace these old patterns with new ways of thinking and acting. For example, if you've always believed you needed to be perfect to deserve love, the process of transformation involves challenging that belief and starting to accept yourself as you are, with all your imperfections. This change doesn't happen all at once, but in small steps, such as practicing self-compassion, valuing your achievements, and recognizing your intrinsic worth. Another crucial aspect is establishing healthy boundaries. In toxic families, boundaries are often non-existent or disrespected, which can make you feel like you have no right to space or autonomy. Rebuilding yourself includes learning to say no when necessary, protecting your energy, and prioritizing your emotional well-being, even if it causes initial discomfort. Additionally, transformation involves reframing the pain of the past. Instead of viewing your experiences as insurmountable burdens, you can begin to see them as lessons that shaped your resilience and empathy. This doesn't mean romanticizing suffering, but recognizing that it played a role in your growth and that you now have the power to change the course of your story. As you work on these changes, something extraordinary happens. Freedom begins to emerge. You become less reactive to external circumstances and more aligned with your inner truth. This freedom is the foundation for building a life that reflects who you truly are, not who others expected you to be. Transforming toxic patterns and rebuilding your identity requires consistent action. It is a daily process where every small change contributes to a stronger foundation. Here are some essential practices that can help you solidify this transformation and create a new path in life. 1. Self-observation and reflection journal. 2. Taking time to write about your thoughts, emotions, and recurring patterns is a powerful way to get to know yourself better. A journal is not just a space for venting. It allows you to identify emotional triggers and automatic behaviors that need adjustment. By putting your feelings into words, you gain clarity about what needs to change. 3. Therapy or professional counseling. Seeking professional help is one of the most effective ways to accelerate your transformation. A therapist can provide specific tools to deal with the impacts of toxic family dynamics and help you undo limiting beliefs. The therapeutic process also creates a safe space to explore emotions you may never have allowed yourself to confront. Establishing self-care routines. Self-care goes beyond relaxation. It involves creating habits that strengthen your body, mind, and spirit. Engaging in physical exercise, maintaining a balanced diet, and setting aside time for meditation or mindfulness are ways to reconnect with yourself and reduce the impact of emotional stress. 5. Positive support circles. Breaking family patterns can be lonely, but you don't have to face this journey alone. Surrounding yourself with people who support and respect you is essential. This may include friends, mentors, or even support groups where you find understanding and encouragement to keep moving forward. 6. Reprogramming limiting beliefs. Beliefs such as "I am not enough" or "I need to please others to be loved" must be challenged and replaced with positive affirmations. This can be done by practicing daily declarations like "I am worthy of love exactly as I am" or "My value does not depend on anyone's approval." Repeating these consistently helps internalize new truths about yourself. 7. Intentional actions to break. Cycles change doesn't just happen internally, it needs to be reflected in your actions. For example, this means avoiding behaviors that perpetuate the toxic patterns you inherited. If in the past you avoided difficult conversations out of fear of conflict, now you can learn to communicate clearly and assertively, even in challenging situations. 8. Practices of forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or justifying what happened, but releasing the emotional weight you carry. This includes forgiving others as well as yourself for past mistakes or reactions. Forgiveness is an act of liberation, allowing you to detach from the control these memories may have over your life. 9. Celebrating small victories. Every step you take toward your transformation is significant and deserves recognition. Celebrating these victories, no matter how small, reinforces the motivation to keep moving forward. This could be something as simple as acknowledging that you managed to say no in a situation where you previously would have given in. By incorporating these practices, you begin to strengthen your new identity and solidify the path you're walking. It's not a perfect or linear process, but with consistency, these changes become part of your routine and, eventually, your essence. As you progress through the transformation process, something inevitable begins to happen. Your relationships with those around you start to change. This includes not only your family of origin, but also friendships, romantic relationships, and even professional connections. When you start to see and act differently, the dynamics with others adjust as well. Change in family roles. Within a toxic family, people often assume fixed roles. The caregiver, the responsible one, the rebel, the peacemaker. These roles are an unconscious way of keeping the family system stable, even if it's dysfunctional. When you begin breaking patterns, you inevitably challenge these dynamics. You might notice resistance, criticism, or even attempts to pull you back into the role you used to play. This is uncomfortable but part of the change process. By setting clear boundaries and pursuing your own healing, you are not just protecting yourself. You are showing others that it is possible to act differently. This may inspire some family members to reflect on their own behaviors, even if they initially struggle to accept your choices. Relationships that reflect your healing. As you transform, you also become more conscious of the types of relationships you want to cultivate. Dynamics that were once tolerated, such as control, manipulation, or disrespect, begin to lose their place in your life. You may realize that certain friendships or partnerships no longer make sense. This doesn't mean rejecting people, but prioritizing those who respect and support who you are becoming. On the other hand, your transformation also attracts people who align with your new way of living. You start surrounding yourself with individuals who share values like respect, empathy, and authenticity. These new connections reinforce your progress and provide a healthier environment for continued growth. Turning conflicts into dialogue. Before the change, family or interpersonal conflicts might have been marked by emotional outbursts or prolonged silences. As you work on your healing, you gain the ability to handle disagreements in healthier ways. This doesn't mean avoiding conflicts, but approaching them with calmness, clarity, and firmness. This new behavior often disarms old patterns and opens space for more constructive dialogue. If you've come this far, I have a gift for you, a list of videos created exclusively for those chosen. These cover everything from basic knowledge to truths that have been hidden from humanity for years. Just check the description or pinned comment. Now let's talk about the power of example. The power of example. Perhaps the most significant impact of your transformation is the example you set. By living authentically, prioritizing your emotional health, and demonstrating that it's possible to break free from inherited patterns, you become a role model for others. This might not be recognized immediately, but the consistency of your actions plants seeds of change in those around you. Some people may never change, and that is a reality you need to accept. However, your transformation does not depend on them. It is a personal process that can still create a ripple effect, even if subtle. Whether inspiring a sibling to seek their own healing or showing a friend it's possible to set boundaries, your journey leaves positive marks beyond yourself. Rebuilding the most important relationship. The most important relationship you will have throughout your life is the one you build with yourself. When you begin to break toxic patterns and transform your way of living, this internal connection becomes your primary support. Rebuilding this relationship is not just about self-acceptance, but also about learning to value yourself in ways that once seemed impossible. Rediscovering your worth. Growing up in a toxic environment can leave deep marks on how you view yourself. You may have internalized messages that you were not good enough, not deserving of love, or incapable of achieving what you desired. Rebuilding the relationship with yourself begins by challenging these limiting beliefs. It's about seeing yourself with fresh eyes and realizing that your worth doesn't depend on external approval, but on a genuine connection with who you are. This process involves not only identifying what you believe about yourself, but also replacing those beliefs with empowering truths. For example, replacing "I am not capable" with "I am learning and can overcome challenges" is a significant step. The practice of positive affirmations combined with self-compassion helps rebuild the foundation of how you perceive yourself. Establishing a supportive inner voice. One of the most harmful forms of inherited emotional damage is the constant inner criticism. Often you may replay the words of those who hurt you, mentally repeating judgments and doubts. Transforming this inner voice is essential to strengthening your relationship with yourself. Instead of criticizing yourself when things go wrong, you can start practicing supportive self-talk as you would for a friend in need of encouragement. This change doesn't happen overnight, but every moment you choose to be kind to yourself builds a healthier foundation for your self-esteem. This supportive inner voice becomes a source of strength during difficult times and an anchor of confidence when the world around you feels unstable. Cultivating self-care. As a priority of building your relationship with yourself also involves practical actions. Self-care is a tangible demonstration that you are prioritizing your well-being. This can include setting aside time for activities that bring you joy, respecting your body and mind's limits, and making decisions that protect your emotional health. Self-care goes beyond moments of relaxation. It also means making choices that protect you. This involves saying no to situations or people that compromise your emotional health, even if it requires courage. Every choice that prioritizes your inner peace reinforces the respect you are cultivating for yourself. Developing confidence and autonomy. Growing up in an environment where your choices were questioned or ignored can leave deep marks on your ability to trust yourself. Rebuilding this confidence is an essential part of your transformation. Start with small decisions and observe how capable you are of making choices aligned with your values and needs. Autonomy arises when you realize you have the power to direct your life. This doesn't mean it will be easy or that you'll have all the answers, but it does mean you are willing to trust your judgment and learn from the outcomes. Every step you take toward emotional independence strengthens your ability to create a life that reflects who you truly are. Celebrating who you are becoming. Finally, rebuilding your relationship with yourself is an invitation to celebrate your achievements, even the smallest ones. Transformation is an ongoing process, and every bit of progress deserves recognition. Celebrating who you are becoming is not only an act of gratitude, but also a way to reinforce the commitment you've made to yourself. As you progress on your transformation journey, an inevitable question arises. How can you use everything you've learned to create a future that truly reflects who you are? Letting go of past patterns is not just about leaving behind what no longer serves you, but also about building a new path based on conscious choices aligned with your deepest values. Defining what matters to you. One of the first steps in building this future is redefining your priorities. Growing up in a toxic environment often teaches you to put others' needs ahead of your own, ignoring your own desires and aspirations. Now is the time to reverse this dynamic and ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What values do I want to guide my life moving forward? This may involve exploring what brings you joy, what inspires you, and what makes you feel whole. These answers are often buried beneath years of external expectations, but giving them space to emerge is one of the most powerful ways to reconnect with yourself. Setting goals aligned with your essence. Building an aligned future requires more than dreams. It demands focused action. Set goals that reflect who you are today and who you want to become. These goals don't need to be grand at first. The important thing is that they are meaningful to you. Every step you take toward these objectives strengthens your autonomy and confidence. For example, if you want to cultivate healthier relationships, your goal could be learning to set boundaries or communicate your needs clearly. If your focus is personal growth, it could include practicing emotional development or seeking new forms of learning that broaden your perspective. Creating an environment that supports your transformation. To build a solid future, it's essential to create an environment that supports your journey. This means surrounding yourself with people, spaces, and practices that nurture your energy and encourage you to move forward. Your external environment has a direct impact on your motivation and well-being, so consciously choose where to invest your time and energy. This environment may include the physical space where you live and the interactions you allow in your life. If you previously felt trapped in relationships that drained your energy, now is the time to build connections that empower you. If the place where you live evokes painful memories, consider transforming that space into something that reflects your new identity, embracing flexibility along the way. It's important to remember that building an aligned future is not a linear process. There will be detours, obstacles, and moments of doubt. This doesn't mean you are failing. It means you are learning. Flexibility is an essential skill on this journey. Allow yourself to adjust your plans when necessary, staying focused on your values and the larger purpose guiding you. Every step, even the challenging ones, contributes to creating a future where you can live authentically. Recognize that you are building something unprecedented in your lineage, a path not defined by the weight of the past, but by the freedom of conscious choices. Manifesting a positive legacy. As you move forward, you begin to realize that the changes you are making extend beyond yourself. By living in alignment with your values and purpose, you become a living example that transformation is possible. This legacy doesn't need to be proclaimed. It manifests through your actions, the relationships you cultivate, and the way you choose to face challenges. Building this future is proof that you haven't just broken cycles. You've also planted the seeds for something new. Every step you take toward personal fulfillment paves the way for others to do the same, creating an impact that transcends generations. Looking back with purpose. When you look back at everything you've faced and overcome, it's impossible to ignore the greater purpose that permeates your journey. From the challenges experienced within a toxic family to the transformation process you initiated, every stage carries a meaning that goes far beyond what it seems at first glance. This journey is not just about individual healing, it's about understanding your role in something much larger. You as an agent of transformation, everything you've experienced, the pain, the lessons, the moments of triumph, has shaped you to be an agent of transformation. Your unique experience has allowed you to clearly see the patterns that keep others trapped in the same dynamics. You have the ability not only to break these cycles, but also to inspire others to do the same. This is more than a process of personal healing. It's a work that reverberates to those around you. This awareness that you can be a transformative force changes how you view your experiences. They are no longer just isolated pains, but milestones in a story of growth and impact. You realize that everything you have faced was preparing you to take on this role as the protagonist in your own life and in the lives of those around you. The role of resilience. Every obstacle you have overcome was not just a test, it was an exercise in strengthening. The resilience you've developed is a powerful resource that is now part of who you are. This strength enables you to face future challenges with greater clarity and confidence. More than that, it's the same resilience that shows others it is possible to weather storms and come out stronger on the other side. Recognizing this resilience is an act of self-appreciation. Instead of downplaying your achievements, you can begin to honor everything you have built within yourself. This solid foundation not only gives you the strength to keep moving forward, but also reassures you that you are capable of facing whatever comes your way. The awakening of authenticity. Every transformation journey leads to a central point, the rediscovery of your authenticity. For a long time, toxic family patterns may have stifled who you truly are, shaping you according to expectations and behaviors that didn't reflect your essence. Now, by breaking these patterns, you have the opportunity to reconnect with the truth of who you've always been. Authenticity is not about pleasing others or meeting external standards. It's about living in alignment with your values, passions, and purpose. This awakening brings a sense of freedom that cannot be replaced. When you live authentically, everything around you begins to align with this new energy, and your life becomes fuller and more meaningful. Transforming pain into purpose. One of the greatest lessons of this journey is that pain doesn't have to be an end. It can be transformed into purpose. The challenges you've faced have given you unique tools to help others, build something meaningful, and live in alignment with what truly matters. When you view your pain through this new perspective, it loses its power to paralyze you and becomes a driving force for something greater. This purpose can manifest in various ways, whether by inspiring those around you, contributing to causes that resonate with you, or simply living a life that reflects your truths. What matters is that the pain that once seemed unbearable is now the foundation of something impactful and meaningful. Embracing your journey as a gift. As difficult as it may have been, your journey is a gift. It has shaped you, strengthened you, and awakened you to truths you might never have discovered otherwise. Embracing this journey as an essential part of who you are doesn't mean justifying the suffering or ignoring the pain you've endured. It means recognizing that you are so much more than what has happened to you. This understanding completes the cycle of healing, not as a static conclusion, but as a starting point for everything you can still become. You are not defined by your past, but by the choices you make moving forward. And now, with everything you've learned, what will you choose to do with the gift that is your life?